Welcome, Sacha. Thank you for being here.
Great to be here.
And more importantly, thank you for speaking at the Momentum event.
What a cool event.
It was really cool.
I'm often cynical about things. You might have picked that up. I try not to lean to cynicism. I think a healthy dose of skepticism is good, but cynicism is just a killer. It's an ugly attitude. I don't like it. And I recognize it in myself. So when I think it was Logan who first contacted me, I'm like, you're a Christian. Is this like a God thing? which I wouldn't have been opposed to, but I was trying to get a feel for like, what's the event going to be like? And I just thought I love things like that where you have energy of people who want to learn and grow, fantastic stories the other presenters were just extraordinary. I've got pages of notes that I've taken. So I think it's always a great event when someone who's there to give a little bit, actually, I just went home feeling like, I would have bought a ticket, hands down. I'm going to buy a ticket for next year.
So good. Oh, that's awesome to hear. Yeah, I appreciated your email. Was it the night of? I think it was, right? So that was really awesome to hear that. Like, the overall positive sentiment from the event was just so overwhelmingly good. Because having never done an event of that scale before, I didn't really know. I thought we'd done a lot of prep and in theory it was all good, but you never really know, do you?
Well, I think one of the things that, and look, we don't have to descend into gender straight away, but it will come up.
We can.
But I'm sure, is that I love the confidence that it's not all men, but some men, and men have an advantage over this, a societal advantage over women, to just go, I don't really know much about this, but I'm going to give it a go. And I think that's an attitude that I love and I aspire to live my life in that way. I don't know about this. I can find out about it. Why don't I give it a go? That's the fastest way to learn. When you do it with an audience, you've got to make sure that you're delivering value, obviously. But I love that you gave it a go, that you put it together. So many very well thought out details. And from what I know of you, you'll have learned a lot and you'll already be going, here's what we're going to do differently next year.
Big time. Yeah. I think the big thing for me was just practicing my component of the event. So the intros, the bit at the end, the prelude, the intro, like that was probably the biggest weakness. I assumed, and that's not often a good thing to do, but I assumed that it would be relatively comfortable and that being in front of 100 people would be fine. But
were you surprised at how you felt?
I did not find it fine. I felt it very, very daunting, very intimidating.
Oh, I love this for you. Honestly, I love this for you. I had an example in my life where I was speaking at an event and there was one other speaker, a guy, and I didn't know how to tell him, and I'm not saying that this was true for your experience, but it's similar. I didn't know how to tell him that he was not well enough prepared and he was taking it too casually, because what I knew from my experience was that when you're in a novel situation like that, you will often have rushes of adrenaline or nervousness or hormones that you have not prepared for, and simple things in your body that will betray you. So for me, my mouth will completely have no moisture in it. My lips will stick to my teeth and I didn't witness any of that with you. But I knew that this was a possibility at this big event. So I took my water bottle and had it under the lectern so that when it was my turn to speak, I would just put it up beside me with a sipper top, because you can't do a glass in front of a lot of people, and I was ready.
Yeah.
And I would never wish ill on anybody else. But I knew this, I just had this suspicion this guy was going to get handed on his ass. And it was. It was awful for him, and I don't want people to have that experience. So I love that you recognised that the newness requires another level of preparation.
Yeah.
Oh, we are going to get you so ready for next
Good,
year.
okay.
Flashing lights. It's going to be awesome. The Crusaders' horses coming in.
The whole shebang. Well, someone nominated me, so.
And to be clear, you did a really good job. I was there, and it was great.
Thank you. If I could interrupt the podcast for one moment to say a big thank you to one of our sponsors, Tom Hardy from White Fox. Tom's a friend of mine, and I've also worked with him personally to sell one of my properties. Tom is an absolute legend, a great guy, and if you're in the market to buy or sell real estate in Christchurch, I'd recommend getting in touch. Thanks, Tom.
But I'm also not going to patronise you and say there's no room for improvement. There is. Let's go.
Totally. Yeah. And the funny thing is, like, I knew full well that I wasn't prepared going into that. And even the morning of, Anu was doing the name tags and the lanyards, and should I have been practicing what I was going to say instead of helping him with the lanyards? Absolutely. But yet, weirdly, I don't know. I can't explain it. It's human nature, I think. Sometimes we avoid that thing that we know we need to do. Would you agree?
I'm more interested in why you think.
Oh man,
You
it's
didn't.
a good deep question. I don't know. I think I really don't know.
I have this thing where I sometimes rely on winging it, and there's this balance. There's this balance between masters never practice. And what that means is that you get to a level of mastery in a thing, and your levels of awareness mean you learn in the moment. So here's the ego or the recognition of self in me. After I spoke at Momentum, I can review while I'm speaking what I might want to do differently next time. And I have to turn that awareness off because it's not helpful. It makes me be less present. But that evening when I sent you the email, I also went right through what I had done, where I'd let myself down, where I'd missed the mark, where was the opportunity to be better. But I don't need to rehearse that now because there's thousands and thousands of hours, a little bit like saying, I know the tweak I'm going to make now. So I balance that with I don't need to do hours of practice. I balance that with this arrogance that goes sometimes I'm underprepared and I say, yeah, I'll just wing it. It'll be okay. And that's the big risk. I don't ever want to be so underprepared that I blow something important.
Yeah.
That's the tension, I think.
Yeah. I think also that, there's a few things, isn't there? There's a few like deeper psychological things here, I think. But one is the reps theory, right? The amount of reps, comfort in doing the thing. I think also there's probably some trauma from the podcast when I've prepared in the past and had like this all organized. It's just led to the worst not the worst, but it's led to a suboptimal podcast. And so I think there's an association with that, but they're very different things, very, very different. And so that's probably one explanation. But I guess it's the only way to learn as well is through failure or through an experience like that. Whereas if someone had have told me like, hey, you should prepare. Untrue, you reckon?
It can't be true that the only way we learn is
Not
through
the only
failure.
way, but a way.
A way,
Yeah.
It's an uncomfortable way, but I think often some of our accelerated growth comes from our failures because we are motivated to never experience that again.
Yeah.
So probably, here's a question for you. My suspicion would be that because you did a really good job, the risk is that good enough is good enough. And so there's less motivation to actually become world class at the thing because you're good enough. You get by, right? But I wonder if your motivation to improve is because you recognize the level of discomfort in the moment, even though we couldn't tell as the audience.
So internally, I feel like I was 2 out of 10.
Right.
I feel like that's the mark I'd give myself. So I think there's a long way to go, but what a great challenge and what a great thing to become better at. I'm not sure if even the difference between, say, being like the MC or the host is different than being a speaker. They're probably similar, but they're also quite different roles as well, aren't they?
They're really different roles,
Yeah.
similar skills. My belief is when you are the MC and when you're speaking, everyone in the audience wants you to succeed and do well. So you want to make sure the first few moments or the first minute or the first 2 minutes, you do everything that causes the audience to go, oh, we can relax. There's a grown-up here. There's somebody here that knows what they're doing.
Yeah, that's a
and
good
when a speaker or an MC gets off to a shaky start, it's almost like the audience holds their breath because they're like, oh, shit,
What's going to happen?
Oh, man, how awful is this afternoon going to be?
Totally.
So that confident start that really lets the audience know, hey, you guys can relax. I got this. Sit back. We're going to do some learning. We're going to do some laughing, all of that. That's what makes a great start.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we were at an event recently and it was like a cocktail sort of party combined with a movie screening, and the way the event was run and managed was exceptional. It was so precise right from the very beginning, and then halfway through the movie it stopped. And it wasn't just a brief moment of stopping, it was like 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes. And because they'd led up to that moment so cleanly, there was absolute certainty, right? These guys have got it under control. It's going to be fine.
Yeah.
There's no fear. There's no like weirdness. It was just like, it's all good. Whereas I think, as you say, if the opposite was true, if they had been shaky from the start, we'd be like, "Oh, do we leave? Like,
What's going on
what's
here?
going on here?" Right?
Pack of clowns.
So yeah, that's interesting. But speaking of failure, you mentioned failure just then. Do you think when you think about failure and you think about your life, does anything stick out as like a massive failure above everything else? Because failure is such a weird word. It's a bit like success. They're weird words that have got different definitions and meanings.
I have some interesting failures that might not strictly qualify as being, oh, you failed, but they were things where I didn't achieve at a level that I thought I would. And so some learning and growth has come out of those situations. And also a couple of those situations have been sliding doors type moments in my life. So I can't look back at them as being failures because they've just taken my life in a different direction. So I don't regret any of those. Whereas if I'd had this quote unquote success, I would be living a different life now, and I can't imagine what that would be, what that would be like. I had them, it's not misfortune, I think it's really good fortune, and I have to be thankful for this. Well, I was really good at things when I was a kid. So I didn't experience kind of struggle with, like, I could learn really easily. I got a good brain. I could sing, so I could be in the school productions, and I was good at dancing, and I could make speeches, and I had confidence. And so life in that respect was always pretty easy. And when I was 13 or 14, I failed a ballet exam, and it was a big deal. And I remember just so clearly going, the results arriving in the mail and climbing into bed with my mum, and my little sister, who's 6 years younger than me, she climbed into bed as well. And we all there, we opened it, and it just says, Sacha Coburn. It's my maiden name, and it go down the bottom, it says, fail. And we all just burst into tears. It's like we just cried and cried. And it wasn't judgment from my mother. Her tears were my tears. And my little sister, just when you see anyone upset, you tend to cry when you're a kid. And I thought, oh, wow. There wasn't a moment of, there must be some mistake. I knew that either I hadn't done enough or the exam hadn't gone very well. And so I went back and I sat that exam the following year. They're a year apart. That's how long it takes to redo it. And when I passed that exam, I didn't go back to another class. So I didn't, as an adult, I've gone back to dance, but it felt like unfinished business. I wasn't going to have that failure be the last thing in that particular chapter.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. You mentioned sliding doors, and you don't really know what the alternative outcome would have been. I think of an example of failure when I was doing a ski instructor course, training the whole year, skiing every day, and then the final exam, I failed by a point on one component of it.
And was that a practical thing?
No, the practical was fine. It was a video analysis.
Yeah,
and so I just failed. And so at the moment, I was absolutely gutted. I just put in the amount of work that I thought was required. Obviously, I hadn't, but it was just funny how it all played out. How we ended up going to Europe, and all my friends were getting ski instructor jobs, and I was like, oh, this sucks. I'm not on the path. I'm missing out basically. But then I got this ultra cruisy job in an office, more money, more freedom, more amount of time skiing. And they're stuck on the learner slope teaching kids how to ski.
Yeah.
Not necessarily hating it, but maybe not loving it, right? I'm like, isn't that interesting? In the moment, it really sucked, but then it all looped back around.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you know how you can tell there's a ski instructor at your party.
Do they tell you about
They
it?
tell you.
They tell you. It's like a CrossFitter?
It's like if you've been to Harvard Business School.
Oh, yeah. Is that,
same kind of thing, right?
What?
People tend to get it out early.
What do you reckon leads to that cult-like association? Is it passion? Is it
I think we're looking for rapport all the time. We're looking to establish common ground. So if you've done a thing and I've done a thing and we've done this thing, this is our connection.
True.
And there's some jobs that are just cooler. And if you're a ski instructor, you're going to get more chicks. And so when you've got that kind of thing, there's an element of positioning yourself in the room by defining yourself in a particular way. So if you think about when you enter a room or you're in a work situation, lots of things we know about you already. So we can tell your gender, we know your height, we can probably tell if you exercise or not. We learn very quickly, we're making these judgments and learning things about people. The information we share is just another layer of that to help people understand who we are. I remember once at Coffee Culture in Sumner years ago, a guy came in and he was talking to me about something, and it might have been to do with our lease. We had some leasing situation that was problematic. And he said, I'm in property at the moment, but I can help you with this and help you with that. And like he went on and on and on. and I just sort of was listening politely. He was a guest of the coffee shop, so I was happy to listen to him. And as he chatted away at me, and right at the end he goes, yeah, because you might not know, but I'm a lawyer.
Whoa.
And I went, me too. It was kind of just left at that. Like at no point had there been an interest in whether I needed any of the advice that he was spewing. He was being helpful in his mind.
In his way.
Yeah, in his mind. And I'm a bit inclined to do that. I'm a bit inclined to tell more than ask. And that's been a lesson for me along the way.
Some people do tend to talk at you though, don't they? Wonder why that is. Do you think it's insecurity?
I'm really careful about psychoanalyzing people. I have no psychological academic background or training.
Disclaimer.
Yeah, that's my disclaimer. So I think there's a couple of things going on. Often it's a nervousness.
Yeah.
A nervousness is I'll just fill I'll fill the space. I'm uncomfortable with the silence, so I'll fill it. Whereas I kid you not, I could sit in silence with you now for another 20 minutes and feel fine.
It's fine.
And I could also talk non-stop for 3 days and be fine. Yeah. You get to a level of comfort within your own skin, and I'm very happy to be there. You sometimes just pick up people aren't comfortable in the room or in the environment, and they might have like a physical itch or like a verbal itch, which is just to keep. If I just keep talking, then eventually I'll feel more comfortable in the space. I'm interested in, what's it called? ISL. It'd be good if I could remember what it stands for, but I can't. It's a leadership training program that is run, they generally run it in Queenstown. They have lots of people there who are New Zealand Defence Force, and big corporates, multinationals will send their people there. And how the whole week functions is within your cohort. You share lots about yourself, lots about your work environment, but you do not say where you work and you do not say what your title is.
Interesting.
So everything that you learn about people is separate to whatever power or status that might accrue to them on the basis of who they are and what they do. And they reveal at the end of the week, not in a big rah-rah kind of a way, but just they get to share the fullness of who they are. And I think it's pretty regular feedback that people experience that has been very powerful. Because if, let's say, we'd sat down and you had said, hi, I'm Major General Brigadier so-and-so, I'm going to automatically project some things onto you. And the same if I had introduced myself in a particular way.
That's true. Yeah, that's really true. I guess it's a reference point, and it could lead to insecurity, it could lead to fear, it could lead to a number of different emotions. So I understand that. Yeah,
and people would be less willing to talk or share. Let's say I'm thinking I'm struggling with, I've got say 7 people in my team, and how do I manage that? And then you talk about you lead an organisation that has 2,000 staff. So I instantly feel like, what do you care about my struggles? So there's a barrier that can get created.
Hey, quick interruption. When I'm not podcasting, I'm working on growing alt and working with clients as my main role as a business coach. Right now, I'm looking to meet more fellow business owners. The reason is simple. The more people I know, the more value I can bring, whether it's through coaching, the podcast, or just connecting good people. If you're based in Christchurch, let's grab a coffee. If you're further afield, let's jump on a call. Now, let's get back to the episode.
Reminds me of that story that you shared at Momentum about the experience It was at Harvard, wasn't it? Yeah,
Harvard Business School.
with the big dogs.
The
Or
big dogs,
the big,
Well,
larger businesses.
I think I misread the criteria for entry for the course that I wanted to get to. And this is where the gender thing plays out as well. So in my class of 160 participants, 23 were women. So I think it was something like 16%, maybe even less than that, of our cohort were women. And I think it's a fair accusation to make that it's a lower bar for women to get in, because these Ivy League and other universities, they are desperate to bring more people in, and as you get into the, let's call it, I don't want to say the higher courses, but the more advanced courses at Harvard Business School, it gets more and more masculine. So I thought that the criteria was you had to have something like 20 million revenue US dollars. And I thought, with a bit of a stretch, if I'm a bit fudgy around some numbers, I can probably get there if there was a favourable exchange rate when I did my calculation.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking revenue is top line.
Yeah.
Right? What's the top line? And as I met the various people in my cohort, I just got the sense that maybe they were using revenue as like bottom line. Maybe they were meaning what's down the bottom.
Right.
And as they introduced themselves, it became really apparent that everyone that I lived with in my close group was running much bigger organisations, or involved with much bigger organisations. But also several of them, they are multi-generational family businesses. So the business that I'm involved with, Coffee Culture, my husband started it with some others. He wasn't my husband when he started it. I was working as a lawyer in Sumner and used to get my coffee there every day, and we kind of fell in love, and that was the origin story for us.
Wow.
So I have the deepest respect for people who start things. It's quite the pressure and challenge. One of my colleagues was a fifth-generation newspaper owner from India. So his family owned many of the daily newspapers in India. And as the CEO of that organisation, he was charged with keeping it relevant in an industry that was certain to die. You think about how you're going to keep newspapers afloat now.
Yeah.
That's your family legacy. What are you... I mean, that's a pivot, right? That is a serious pivot. So that's a problem at one end. And then you've got people who, it's not that it's been handed to them on the plate, but the ideation hasn't been there. They've got a different set of challenges. And I think, I think about what Chris did. There was a little gift shop next to a movie theatre, and he said, I think this could be a coffee shop. And this was at a time where nobody was drinking espresso coffee really seriously in New Zealand. There were a few coffee roasters. It was really early days, 30 years ago.
Yeah.
And the courage that it takes to do that, and the insight, the self-belief, wow, it's awesome.
That is awesome. Yeah. How long had he been trading for when you guys met?
They were about 4 years in, and there were two coffee shops at that stage. One was in the centre of town here in Christchurch. It was the inside of a Glasson's store. Yeah. So Tim Glasson had recognised that this coffee shop in Sumner had such a cool buzz and vibe. He said, I want one of those inside Glasson's. So there was one in Cashel Mall, tiny little 25 square metres. And then actually our third coffee shop was in Dunedin, again inside a Glasson's.
Wow.
Now that partnership went nowhere fast.
Right.
And there were a bunch of reasons for that. And no fault of anybody's. Just wasn't a sustainable way of trading together.
What's been some highlights and lowlights over that period of time from, say, that first store in Sumner through to present day? Like, I'm sure there's a number of ups and downs, but what are some key moments or events that come to mind?
I think what's interesting about the question is I can hear myself thinking, and I'm thinking, I just notice how I go to people. Straight away I start thinking about the people, and some of our, like one of our current owners, for example, her dad had a coffee culture, and she was about 9 or 10 when he first got his coffee culture. She grew up doing dishes, worked in the store after school,
Wow.
went through high school, then started working in one of his stores, and now she owns one of our most successful stores. That just That's so cool.
That's
like
cool.
multi-generational.
Wow.
We have people who meet, they have their first dates in the coffee shop, and then they come and get their wedding photos. I love what we mean to people. So that's a series of highlights along the way. And it's not, well, the year that we did X amount of turnover and that one time that we, and that's not to say that we haven't hit some really cool milestones along the way and you go, oh, that's cool. I remember once when back in the early days, we might have had 4 or 5 stores at this stage in Christchurch, and I was really thinking about this idea of leverage in business. How do you, the difference between when you are working so hard in your business, because we were still very much working in the business, but we didn't have to be there all the time. We'd got to that stage where there were, by choosing to franchise, grow with other people's money, we had other people who cared deeply about the stores. And I was sat on the couch one night in our sort of little rented place that we had in Sumner, and I said to Chris, is the Sumner store open right now? And he goes, yep. And I said, what about the Cashmere store? Is it open? He went, yeah. I said, what about the Palms? Is the Palms store open? He goes, yeah. And I just started listing the stores. Is Mirabelle open? He goes, yeah. And I go, where are we? He goes, on the couch. And I'm like, yeah. Like, high five.
So good.
It was kind of wasn't a point of arrival, but it was a snapshot of time.
We've leveraged.
It was leveraged. We're at a stage now where, I think it's Prof G who's talking about, true greatness lies in enabling and leveraging off the talents of others and helping other people grow. And it just felt like one of those little moments.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, it's funny how those moments are so memorable. Like I remember being away on a trip in Brisbane a few years ago, and I don't know, this doesn't even come close to your story, but it was just like one of those moments that you always remember. Like this transaction came through, got paid for something that I wasn't involved in. I was overseas, and yeah, it's funny, right? Those moments like are so memorable, and who knows where they come from or why, but it's an interesting one. So what's next? What's next for the brand?
It's been tough, right? Let's make no mistake. Hospitality has not been easy through COVID, through the cost of living crisis, coffee itself. You might be aware as a commodity, the green bean price has gone, a technical word, through the roof.
I've heard that, yeah.
Yeah, it's been really crazy. There was a drought in Brazil that affected the supply side. Then speculators got in on the action because they saw what was happening to the price. So price went crazy high as a result of that. And most of that you have to absorb. So we import green beans, we roast them, then distribute them through the stores. So we can pass on a little bit of that. We've chosen not to because our stores have already been taking the hammering through the economic environment. You simply can't keep ratcheting up the price of a cup of coffee and expect that your guests will continue to consume. We already notice a drop-off in consumption. People saying, guys, just with the interest rates on my mortgage, I'm coming once a day, not twice a day, or I'm coming twice a week, not 3 times a week. So our stores are doing really well, but man, they're working hard. We're working really hard to squeeze every bit of margin out and to continue to deliver the guest experience. We are very sincere and genuine when we talk about wanting every guest to have an amazing time in our store. One of the things that helps me sleep, I'm answering your question very circuitously. One of the things that helps me sleep is just knowing how hard we try, how much we mean what we say about what it is we're trying to do. It's really easy to reverse engineer passion or mission or purpose into an organisation. And at our heart, we've always cared deeply about what it is that we provide. So in terms of what's next, for us, it's about saying, are there other communities that would benefit from having us there? Are there people who would benefit from owning a coffee culture store? Franchising, obviously, you don't make as much money as if you were owning those things yourself. There's less capital involved, there's arguably less risk, but it's a different model. You really get to work alongside people and help them grow their own business, and I think that's something I particularly enjoy. So some of our franchisees, their financial outlook has radically changed from when they, quit their kind of mid-tier middle management job. They've been able to achieve great things, and that's really cool to watch.
That's cool. Yeah. What's the split between franchises and company-owned
We have a
stores?
couple of company-owned
Oh, yeah.
stores. Occasionally we need to buy them back for various reasons. Situations change for people and they say, I got to get out of this. And if we don't have someone who's ready to go, at times we'll buy them back. We end up with them for a period of time. What we've done in each of those instances that I can think of is we then partner in with one of our young people, give them the opportunity. They might take 25% or 50% of it, and then over time we'll sell it to them.
Yeah, right. Yeah, nice.
We don't particularly want to own stores ourselves.
Gotcha. It is a tough one then, isn't it? If, raw ingredients are increasing, costs are increasing. You mentioned that there is a cap, right? Like there is an upper ceiling on the price of a cup of coffee, but what do you do? Do you add on additional options to buy? Do you diversify? Like bit of a tricky one, isn't it?
Well, I think the fundamentals of business remain the same, which is about delivering value and how much value do you continue to deliver. And you look at what are all the levers you have to pull. So we say, okay, if your cup of coffee is going to stay roughly the same, as the size of our group changes, we can buy our milk better. We're able to better buy a bunch of the other products that go into the mix. We can look at how we produce food. And increasingly, like we started out very much as a coffee shop. We were a coffee shop, we did bagels and donuts, a few other bits and pieces. As the market's moved in response to that over the time, we offer more food than we ever have. And that brings a challenge in and of itself. Some food has great margins, some food does not. So, you're always looking for what are the factors, what have we got to play with here to make sure we can squeeze this thing out. This thing out being profit.
Profit. Yeah.
Profit.
Yeah.
And look, I'm unashamed about wanting to make those things successful. And partly what I love about so many of the podcast episodes that I've listened to of yours, and certainly a benefit of being in a bigger business community at HBS, was to be with people who are unashamedly ambitious about what it was that they wanted to achieve. And my ambition for wealth has really grown over time because I'm a frustrated political animal, right? And I know that my future is not in politics, but I care deeply about some structural inequalities we have in New Zealand and in other places. And I'm like, the people who are winning are the people who are buying the most media time and the people who are buying their politicians and who are spewing their shit ideas everywhere through the power of their purse. So I can either make impassioned speeches about that and maybe get somewhere, maybe not, or I can play the game that I'm good at playing, which is called I can also make money. And then I get to spend my money and invest my money in ways that are meaningful to me in the service of others.
Yeah.
And that's what I've decided to do.
Yeah, I could go in a few different directions with that. I don't really know too much politically. Like, it's not my expertise. I have a broad understanding, but so I'm just not even going to try and talk about that.
Well, here's what I think is interesting about the intersection of business and politics is I don't like the fact that I think having access to resources amplifies your view or amplifies your voice. So if you have a look and you think about there's various business people in New Zealand who are getting increasingly political, the only reason they are listened to is because they have money. Right?
And they can promote and get more visibility.
But also we equate that with wealth. So we say, if you have managed to amass a certain amount of money, therefore I'm going to listen to your opinion on the state of the New Zealand housing market, or do we have too many road cones, right? So their platform and their volume comes from the power that we ascribe to them because they've got wealth. We don't ascribe the same power to people who have wisdom. So if you take your wisdom from a spiritual guru of some kind, I'm an atheist, but I grew up in a missionary family. So if you have some Eastern mystic who you believe offers value to the world, we're not going to hear their view in the newspaper because we don't say, hey, that's a voice we should listen to. So my objection is when we have outsized opinions from people simply because they've been successful in this one area of life called business. What about the people who are super successful as parents? I'd like to hear what they think about the road cones, but we don't value that in the same way. So after years of kind of going, this is wrong, I've come to realize I'm not going to change that, and that feels defeatist. I'm not going to change that in my lifetime, so I need to get in the game. So does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely.
I don't like the game, but I'm going to play the game. Let's go.
And sometimes you got to play the game, don't you? Yeah. Yeah, it's a really good point. I had someone say to me about this Altitude Collective that I've started, the invite-only members thing, network, organization, group of people, right?
Have you started a secret club?
It's not secret, but it's
Invite only?
It's invite only, and its design and intent is to get people together that are interesting, ambitious, positive, doing stuff. You know, I feel like there's magic and synergy when that happens. And one of the concepts at the beginning was to gate it via a certain threshold. So, money, basically.
Height?
No, not height. No,
not height.
Height wasn't
not
on the table.
Physical attractiveness?
No, that was fine too.
Not educational achievement?
No, it was just like
just money.
exploring.
Could you afford it?
Could you afford it?
Okay.
Was that the right way to gate it? And the conversation I was having with someone led to like, no, that's ridiculous. Like that is not the right way to manage this. Essentially, you're good at reading people and bringing together good people, so just do it based on that. It's not scalable. It's not a method that can be documented, but just decide. Basically, have a committee at some point or have some system. But yeah, I guess it just speaks to that value of what you're saying. It doesn't matter if someone's got money or not money. People can add value and contribute and be good humans and provide a different viewpoint. It's not all about money.
I agree. And I also think I've got a couple of different groups of people that there's something very special goes on when you have a shared set of values. So it might be a case of saying you might have a cohort where you don't have to have money to get in, but you have to be interested in growing a business or growing your personal wealth or doing something that means you have an ambitious mindset that means you're going to contribute and add value to the people in the room. So it's kind of about money, but it's about ambition and drive, and so that's an important thing. And I think one of the values in some of the cohorts that business school organises is you have some shared understandings or some shared bases. The trick is when they become exclusive, how you manage that. So I have a particular group. There's 10 of us in the group. We are very tight, very close, and we currently meet once a year. So we have met in slightly different iterations and formats at some beautiful locations around the world. We spend a week together. No spouses. It's just us. We were at school together, and this is what we do. We'll deep dive into business. We'll deep dive into our family lives, personal situations. We drink a lot of piss, and we do excursions.
Yeah.
And we are in beautiful parts of the world.
Amazing.
Other people who are in our wider circle that were at school with us have said, can I come? You guys are great. We're friends. Can I come? And so we're having this internal wrestle at the moment about who do we let in? Are they the right vibe? And then we realise just how utterly pretentious we all sound. Well, no, you can't come into our club. But it's really about wanting to protect the ethos because a different person upsets the balance. So,
Totally.
yeah.
I hear you. Yeah, I totally hear you. I think one person could potentially destroy the vibe.
They become a detractor, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Interesting. And so is it mixed? Is it male and female? Or yeah.
I mean, it's not half and half.
Oh.
We have 3 girls and 7 boys because that's the ratio. But interesting. Let me share one other experience with you. We have a massive group of about 160 people. We share a WhatsApp chat group, and I was in Fiji a couple of weeks ago, and I looked in the group, and it said you have been deleted from the group.
Oh,
Excuse me. I think it's been a wee error, operational error, technical hitch. And as I delved deeply into it, there was no technical error. One chap had deleted me, and what that brought up in me, like, I'm not embarrassed about it now. I was embarrassed about it at the time. It was like being back at high school, like the mean girls had excluded me. And I think exclusion is horrible, right? It's just like when you've been in a group and then the group says, not anymore, thanks very much. And it was interesting. I really paid attention to the people who were prepared to, I don't know, I can't believe like adults are talking about, did you support me to get me back into the chat group? Like, it's so ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
But the people who sent a message to say, hey, I think there's been a mistake, and other people who said, not my fight, who cares, it's just a chat group. I'm like, well, you might care when you get deleted from it, right? I don't even want to be in your stupid group anymore, right? Fuck your group. But I had all these kind of just, and it just took me back to some exclusions that I'd experienced as a teenager. All the boyfriends that had ever dumped me, like that stuff. Just,
rejection, I suppose.
Rejection, right? It just sits right there. And, there I am thinking, yeah, I'm so evolved and nothing touches me anymore. And it just got in. But at the same time, the experience I had was I was at Mala Mala Beach Resort in Fiji, and the tears were like pouring down my face. I'm there with my adult children and friends. They're going, "You all right, Mum?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fine.
Good. I'm good."
As I'm crying, I also had a moment of like, oh, look, she's got feelings.
Oh my God.
Because when you operate, you know what it's like when you're just busy all the time. You just go, and your whole job is disaster, crisis, deal with it. Someone's upset, deal with it. Hold the space for them. Don't absorb that pain. Don't absorb that problem. Solve that challenge. Help that person. You're just like this. And I sometimes think it's been months since I cried or since I experienced any real deep joy or deep sadness. So even in the midst of the tears on the beach, I was like, look at you being all human and I quite enjoyed that, even in the midst of the despair, that I was reminded that, hey, you do have frailties, you are fragile, you are worthy of care. You don't just have to keep being the strongest person in the room all the time.
It's a good reminder.
It was nice to be reminded of that.
And did you figure out why you were deleted?
Yeah. Guy's a dick.
Fuck him. Fuck that guy.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
Who that guy?
I
don't even know who you're talking about.
Start your own group.
Yeah.
So this group of 10 though, that sounds cool.
It's
How
very
long's it been
cool.
going?
So 5 or so years we've all been hanging out.
Yeah.
We've just, we're 2 or 3 years into the getting together in places.
The annual trips, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess you could call it kind of like a mastermind.
It is kind of like a mastermind.
Yeah, which isn't really a big thing here in New Zealand, is it?
Well, a similar concept to like having your own personal board, your own personal advisory board, acts a little bit like that.
Yeah,
And I think it's really valued too by some of the men in the group who don't have many avenues in their own environments to say, I found this really hard, or this shitty thing happened. This caused me to wobble a little, particularly when you're at various stages of business leadership. You are called on to be the problem solver and the strong person for everybody else.
Yeah.
So it's a really useful and safe sounding board.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, that's definitely an element of my one, the Altitude
How
Collective.
many are in yours?
There's 11 currently.
What's your gender split?
There is all males currently. It's not engineered that way. It's just that it's a byproduct of who the community that I've kind of created. I'm not trying to be, I want more females. I do. And I think I mentioned on the video call, right? I mentioned how there was a massive effort toward more females on the podcast earlier in the year.
Sorry, I can't even hear you
I
anymore. I
tried.
can't even hear you anymore.
It's the path of least resistance.
Yeah, so here's the interesting thing from my perspective. I think there's 3 women on the Supreme Court now, and the question is asked where they say, well, how many is too many? How many is enough? And my response to that, similar to Ruth Bader Ginsburg, is, well, when there's 9. We've had centuries of there being 9 men. No one objected too much for that, so why would we object whenever there were 9 women? And when I reflected on Momentum, which without qualification was an excellent event, and I spoke and there were 4 other guys speaking, honestly, do you think we would have had the same crowd if you had had the same caliber but 4 women speaking and 1 man?
It likely would have been a different audience, but not through intent or not through purpose. It would just play out that way, I think.
Yeah, so because I think we would have got a different crowd. I don't think those guys would have shown up for 4 same caliber. So this is not a quality issue.
Yeah.
So just replace guy for guy with exceptional women. That codes as a women's event, right? So guys would go, this is a women's event that you're running. Yay! I'll tell my wife. I'm going to tell my sales manager to come along to your women's event because the ratio was 4-1, right?
Yeah.
When the ratio is 4-1 the other way, nobody goes, oh, it's a man's event. We just go, it's an event.
Yeah, it's really
and
good.
That's what I think is really, that's what I'd love to see, a generational shift and change. And now I'm pleased that you've got 11 guys that you share that thing with, right? But just imagine a world now that you find a woman who is just incredible, meets all the criteria, and you go, come and be part of our club. And she is now 1 of your 12, right? So that, again, there's no criticism here. It's just our awareness that we bring to it and go, it's just a different thing. You've got a Boise club thing going on.
But I guess at that point, it's really hard to course correct,
Well, you're
isn't
too
it?
late now. You got a boys club, babe. Woo woo. and nothing wrong with that. I got a group of women that I go to lunch with, and I don't have to justify myself.
No.
I found a good thing. And I'm passionate about creating groups where all people, well, let me express it like this. People say a really important part of employment is let's get people who fit our culture. A culture fit is really important. So one of my best friends is an architect. So she has spent a lot of her life in male-dominated environments. And when she goes for job interviews, they say, we're looking for people that fit our culture. So what we do is we do triathlons, and in the weekend we go hiking and mountain biking. Do you fit our culture? And like plenty of women do go hiking and mountain biking. She's just not one of them. And so I really reflected on that and thought, what I want coffee culture to be, and any organisation that I'm involved with, is not that we say, do you fit our culture? We say, do we have a culture that's sufficiently broad that the maximum number of people of different types, creeds, race, religion, gender, sexuality fit and feel at home? And if our culture has room for you all, then the diversity and richness will accrue benefit to the organisation. I genuinely believe that.
I guess values are probably a little bit different in a way, right? Like culture and values is sort of similar, but if you sort of replace the word culture with values, and so instead of activities or like traits of like male-dominated things, it sort of changes it a little bit, right? Like, are you a good human? Do you have integrity? Are you hardworking? Are you passionate? You know?
Here's what I think. If we go to any company in New Zealand, probably their company values on their wall say something like integrity, hard work, teamwork, customer service. Right? So it doesn't actually tell you anything about what the culture is around here.
It's a really good point.
Right? So like, what does that tell? Because cultures like that, do I fit? And that's where I'm like, if our cultures end up too mono, it's hard for people to fit. Look what's happened with the outrage. We've had a man of Indian descent who's been appointed the CEO of Air New Zealand.
I saw.
And corners of the internet lost their mind.
Yes.
Grow up.
Crazy.
Come on. And we can say that really clearly, and yet you can look at most organisations and there's not necessarily a whole lot of ethnic diversity either.
No.
It's changing.
Yeah, it feels like it's changing.
It's changing. We experience it at Coffee Culture. So you can imagine that we have a huge number of immigrants, people who are fresh to New Zealand, who have said, this is a country that I want to live in. How can I contribute? How can I add value? I'd like my own business. Please may I have a Coffee Culture? And I have to explain to them, we would love to have you, and I need to let you know what you might encounter here in Christchurch.
Just being real.
Just being real. And let's speak an ugly truth, where right across brands are going, how many is too many? How many woman owners is too many? How many immigrant owners can I have before people go, oh, it's somehow a different kind of brand now than what I perceived that it used to be. That stuff just simmers away underneath all kinds of things.
Do you think it's a New Zealand thing or a Western culture thing or a global thing?
I don't know. I don't know enough about it to comment. But I recognize it within myself, and I go, wow. How do you have to take the lead on this? You have to lead this one. I love what Jimmy Carr says about inclusivity. I don't know if you've seen, some of his humour is very to the edge, right? It's very on the edge. And he said he has some comedians who say, I couldn't tell that joke if, for example, there was a woman in the audience, or if there was a disabled person in the audience, or if there was a Chinese person in the audience, whatever the punching down is of the
subject.
Joke. I couldn't do it if the person was in the room. And Jimmy said his test is the opposite. He knows that the joke is really good if he can do it when the person is in the room, because then he knows it's a really good joke. And I get it. I get what he means by that. That's a test for you. So if you say, well, I'm going to tell this joke, but I wouldn't tell it in front of the person I'm making fun of,
right,
that's a really good test for yourself. And you can think about this with your little man's club that you've started, and you call it the Alt Collective or whatever, is to say, are there conversations that you wouldn't have if women were there in a way that somehow is disrespectful of them, versus it's really nice that we can talk about these things that affect us as men. So you get how one is like a protected safe space,
totally,
and one is a now we're saying other things.
Totally. Yeah, interesting. So we haven't actually had the first event yet.
So it's not too late to blow it all up. This is great news.
It's definitely not too late. No,
I'm
it's
kidding.
not too late.
I'm
It's
kidding.
not too late to change.
Burn it down.
I wouldn't say pivot, but, this is food for thought. At the first event, we invited you to the first event.
Oh, is that the first?
Yeah. Yeah. So
I
you would have been.
I didn't know that was an exclusive invitation to your exclusive men's only club.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
coming. I'm changing all my flights.
All
Change
right,
the
I'll hold you
bookings.
to
I'm
that.
there.
Okay. 22nd of August. It's on. It's happening.
Don't announce the venue, or other people will
I didn't say
come.
no. I just said the
I
date.
only want to be in your exclusive club. It's not for everybody. That's literally what the guy who kicked me out of the group said. I want this to be an exclusive club.
Ah.
And I understand why, I didn't strictly meet one of the criteria,
Right.
but interesting, really
No.
interesting.
I don't know how it's going to play out, to be honest. I've got my idea, but we'll see. I feel like I've done a few unofficial versions of this. So my birthday, that's typically a occasion to get some people together and, have some drinks maybe, or go out for
That's
dinner.
so
and,
cool.
And it's just morphed. There was my birthday last year and then a couple of client appreciation events afterward, which again, it sort of gave me the idea and was an idea I've been mulling around on for a while. And I'm just like, I just want to do this.
Yeah.
So,
I love it. The thing I love most about it is that you have ideas and you're implementing them. And lots of people have ideas and sit on them. And my dad was a preacher when I grew up. And he shares this beautiful verse from the Bible that says, your old men will dream dreams and your young people will have visions, kind of a version of that.
right.
And he had this belief, he said, where he believes it's God. Other people say it's the universe. Plants an idea and gives you an idea. But if you don't act on that idea, the idea moves. It doesn't just rest within you. So whether God is moving it to someone else or whether the universe, somehow that idea has a life of its own and you see someone else implementing and running with your idea and you say, oh, well, I had that idea. No, it was only yours for the time that you had to action it.
Right.
And if you didn't action it, wasn't your idea because they had it too and look, they've done something about it.
Exactly.
So I love that you're trying stuff and saying this is something that feeds my soul, it's good for me, I want to do it, I want to do more of it. I have on my birthday every year, you'll appreciate this, based on the when did I fail question. There was a travesty when I was in, it was called the sixth form back then, it was year 12. I wasn't named the head girl of my school. Pretty gutting, right? Confusing for us all, shall we just say. So whenever I have a birthday lunch and I bring a bunch of girlfriends together, and often because I travel a lot, so I don't have a group of friends that they all know each other. I have women that I have really close relationships to, and then we all meet, and they all meet each other on those occasions. And every year, if I have a dinner or a lunch, the first order of business is to I do a motion where we vote. And I'm for the motion, I second the motion, and I also chair that meeting. And the motion is always, do they agree to elect me as head girl of the lunch? All those in favour, please say aye. They'll say aye, and we get on with it, right? And it's a good fun time.
It's a tradition.
Once a year I get to be head girl.
You get to relive that dream.
Yeah. I'm healing my childhood trauma one birthday at a time.
So good. That's funny. Hey, how much speaking do you do? How much public speaking do you do?
So I've been getting paid to speak for about 10 years now, maybe a little bit more than that. I've always done workshops and lots of sales training, leadership training, run that for companies in New Zealand and Australia. And then I started to really just develop up my keynotes. So I probably do between 20 a year. Not always 20, about that.
Yeah, so one every couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Largely just through word of mouth, lots of repeat clients. Sometimes it'll be like a 45-minute keynote. Sometimes it's a 90-minute workshop that has a keynote and then a workshop.
Yeah.
Other times it's 20 minutes, just get in and out.
Yeah.
The guy that I have my podcast with is Shane. We offer this thing, and it's a real product. We just haven't got organised to sell it properly.
Ideas.
Yeah, right. The ideas are going to go to someone else.
Someone will
if I
take
share
it.
What it is that he is the head of fitness at Les Mills in New Zealand. So he runs, basically oversees all of the gyms and group fitness, personal training through New Zealand. He runs their weekly staff meeting, and it's just the best team meeting you've ever been to. It's funny, it's engaging. They have all these like rhythms and rituals. It's super cool. We do this thing where we just dial into other people's meetings. So if you're getting a team together, you have a weekly stand-up at 10 o'clock on a Monday, we'll come in for 15 minutes just on the big screen and drop 15 minutes of mayhem, but
Heat.
Also teaching,
Right.
Heat, motivation, humour, get in, get out, here's a focus for the week, have you thought about this, what are you doing? Like lay some real challenges down with some little tools and tips, a little bit of teaching, get out of there. And we can do that as a series. We've done it as a series of 6 sometimes, where we do that over a year, like every 2 months. And it's just a way of kind of injecting some life
That's cool.
into meetings.
Yep, that's really cool.
Yeah.
So
So we do little things like that too.
So you're going to do it, or you've done it, or
No,
it's an
we've done
idea?
it.
Oh, you've
Yeah,
done it. Okay, yeah.
But we haven't done anything about like making it a
Oh,
product
like a
where
product.
more people would buy it if they knew
Gotcha.
it was a
Right. So you're just
knew it
doing
was a
it.
thing. We just do it as it comes up.
Oh,
We
yeah.
don't ring and go, oh, I've got this. And we say, well, what about this? What
What
about
about
we
this?
just pop into your...
So it's a trick up the sleeve.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
part
it's
of
a
the
card.
suite
It's
of
part
options.
of the suite of things that you might want to do.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I got asked by a company last year to do something similar with their conference. So it was a video conference type thing. And so that was like my first paid speaking gig.
Cool.
So that was quite cool.
Yeah, amazing.
But a little bit like what you say, it was just about breathing in a bit of energy, because that was the disclaimer. I'm like, look, I'm not a speaker. I don't, just full disclosure here, right? I don't know what I'm doing.
I'm not a speaker yet.
I'm happy to do it, but here's the disclaimer.
Yeah.
And, it turned out.
So how much did you charge?
I've got an India. No. I charged $450.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it was for how long?
About an hour.
Yeah. Okay. Good. How many people?
There were 20-ish.
Okay. Yeah, good. So I wrote a book called Speakership with a guy, Matt Church, out of Australia, and another guy, Cole Fink. And Cole Fink's pretty known in New Zealand LinkedIn circles. He runs a group called Solopreneurs, basically people who are running their own business, but essentially it's just them. They might have one person they work with, but they PA type. He delivers amazing content, and Matt's been sort of Australasia's like big named keynote speaker for a long time. So I wrote this book about speakership, how you get really good at speaking from the front of the room. Speakership is leadership, all of those kind of ideas, mastering kind of oration, how you put programs together, the whole kind of kit and caboodle. And Matt does a program called Paid to Speak. And that's like, how do you get good enough if you're a non-celebrity speaker? So in the corporate speaking market, there's celebrities. Hello, I was an All Black. Ooh. Right? Where's my check? Take my $10,000, get off the stage.
Totally.
It's unkind, but mate, the value is not always, but often the value is like, it's only in sign the autograph, have a photo later. If you are not a subject matter expert as such, you are subject matter like borrowing and curating kind of a message, like a true motivational conference speaker. How do you turn that into a business where people will pay you a decent amount of money to speak for 45 or 60 minutes? So I went and did that program. And all of the things that Matt laid in, this was years and years ago, have subsequently turned out to be true. I just didn't realise they were happening at the time. So I remember him saying, what you'll end up with multiple slide decks, and a client will ring you and you'll say, oh, I'll take the top 3 from here, the bottom 3 from here. I'm going to pick this bit of content, this bit of content. And I remember at that time, I think I had like 5 slides. I was really proud of. I've got my 5 slides. And it just seemed to me like I understood it intellectually, but it felt like I was so far away in terms of content creation from having what he was talking about. And just the other day, I opened up my laptop and I went, girlfriend, you have got kind of 15 slide decks that each have 30 or 40 slides in them. And when a client wants something, you go and do the brief. And it's not that you're not cheating by going, well, here's something I prepared earlier. It's that you have some models that are useful, that apply to the situation. You personalize them, you put them through the filter of what's happening in the market right now. You tailor it to the industry and all of that. But in essence, what used to be create a keynote for 60 minutes might take a week if it was any good. Now it takes about 3 minutes. Well, not quite, but yeah. You get how that works? And so
Totally.
he talked about that, and just bit by bit by bit, I've suddenly arrived at that point. I've done the work. And my husband will tell you I've done the work. My air miles are earned, man. When our youngest was 4 months old, she came to Portugal with me because the opportunity was to go and speak in Portugal.
Wow.
And a lot of people would have gone, but I'm still breastfeeding. And I just looked down at my baby. I was breastfeeding and said, honey, we're going to Lisbon.
Come on with me.
There's this great photo at the airport in Auckland of me and the baby and Portia and a bag full of nappies and my mother. And my mother is just white. She just has all of the worries of the world that her
Right.
2 precious babies are heading on that plane. And I'm like, it's a big world, Mum. The opportunity is out there. I'm going to be okay.
I'm going to go do it.
Yeah.
That's so cool. I love
It
it.
comes at a cost. Comes at a cost. Portia, that same one, conference season in Europe and the States is June, largely June.
right.
And Portia's birthday is the 9th of June. And I know I've missed a few of her birthdays. She added them up. She's 20 and she thinks I've missed 9.
Yeah.
Missed 9 of my child's birthdays. Because at a cost that you're prepared to pay. I'm like, yes, she likes holidays. We did a cruise in Europe. We're lucky enough to take the kids with us. And my husband's like, it's just such a mark of success for us, babe. I'm so proud that our children who are adults still want to come on holiday with us.
Yeah.
I said, honey, if we keep paying, they're going to keep coming.
Yeah, they're going to come.
So when Portia on the cruise, maybe she's a couple of margaritas in and she's like, and then there's all the birthdays that you missed. I'm like, shut up and enjoy your margarita.
Yeah.
Because this stuff wasn't handed to us on a plate.
No.
We've worked for it and there were some costs.
There's always a cost though, isn't
Yeah,
there?
pick your poison, honey. Did
Yeah.
you want me at your birthday or are you enjoying niece?
Totally. Yeah. Yeah. And it's just about the weight that you place on that event, right?
And that's a huge thing for women. So I might be wrong, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say in your little group, if there's a bunch of dads there, they might spend a bit of time talking about are they spending enough time with their kids. They won't feel that in a dad guilt kind of a way, in the same way that a bunch of working women with children the same age will. The mum guilt from society is huge because
Yeah.
now through social media we compete. Motherhood is now a competition.
Yeah.
Do we have the fancy ass lunches? Do we? Everything is a competition, right?
Totally.
So I feel for the women who carry that burden heavily.
Yeah.
I never did. And that was luck. That was just luck that I didn't
Yeah.
experience it
Yeah,
in
yeah.
that way. I knew that the single biggest thing I wanted to give my kids was an example of someone who worked hard and went after things.
That makes total sense. Yeah. Yeah, I'd say that the guys in that group, and we went on a trip earlier in the year actually, and I had this. I was away from
Was this the audition?
No,
The audition
it was kind of the
trip? Did you cut some guys
the
after
prelude.
that trip?
We did actually.
Yeah!
100%.
Did you cut them from the group?
Cut one, yeah.
Deleted them.
Deleted, full delete.
I love that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, dude.
Sorry.
Sorry, dude, but you should have thought about that when you behave so badly.
I mean,
You non-contributing zero.
it's not like that, but it is a bit of a test, to see who's going to commit to a trip like that.
Yeah.
Fly to a random country with a group of people that you
Yeah.
may or may not know.
I'm sorry I interrupted because your story was about...
It was a good one. No, it wasn't
You
that
had
good.
left somebody behind.
I went away on this trip over the course of my daughter's birthday, and so there was some guilt around that.
Damage.
And
Start saving for
yeah,
psychotherapy.
there's that guilt. It's not a good emotion though, is it? It's not a good feeling.
Guilt.
Or maybe
I don't mind guilt if it's a gristle, like if it's worthy guilt. I should feel bad about this because I've let myself down, or I should feel bad about this because I made a bad choice. In the moment, I did the wrong thing and I knew I was doing the wrong thing. That's different from I made a choice that didn't work out. Guilt is not useful when it is just a burden that's not justified. So the mum guilt if I wasn't at the thing.
yeah.
Like here's another gendered example. When most men are out in the evening, they are never asked who's looking after their children. When women are out
that's
in
true.
the evening, we're often asked, who's got the kids?
It's true.
So there's all these little things that play into how life kind of rolls for us. I had a funny experience with my kids. Sorry, cancer's never funny, but a funny experience with my kids was when my kids were, so Jordan, my husband's son, was 16. Our kids were 8 and 4. Yeah, 8 and 4, 6 and 4, something like that, when I was diagnosed with this pretty full-on breast cancer. I was 36. And so all through chemo, it was this kind of like, is she going to make it? And I was pretty sure I was going to make it. I don't think I was, obviously I was seriously ill, but I had a pretty good feeling, but you never know. So I went to everything. if one of the kids was doing anything, I was there. I just had
there.
a fully bald head, put my woolly hat on. I watched every football game, everything that was possible for a parent to be at. I was there, probably making all the other parents uncomfortable because I didn't look that great, pretty unhealthy. But I realised it had become my habit. And as it became clear that I wasn't going to die immediately of cancer and that I had a pretty good prognosis ahead of me, I thought you have got to get out of the habit of going to every single thing that the kids are in because that's not healthy for them and it's not healthy for you. I mean, I'm of the age that when I went to school, maybe my dad came to prize giving, maybe mum came to some things, but there wasn't this kind of your parents turn up every 5 minutes.
But it's that society thing that you mentioned, right? It exists. It's a thing.
If I don't turn up, will they still get the certificate? Yes.
100%.
Right?
Are they going to be all right? 100%. They're going to be fine.
I had to really pull back from, give myself permission to stop going to all of the things. And that was really a conscious choice for me.
Yeah. How long did the cancer bit go on for?
It takes a while. You've had 6 months of chemo, 5 weeks of radiation after that, and then a year of Herceptin. So that's the type of breast cancer I had meant that I was able to have that kind of treatment. So it's up to the hospital every couple of weeks, get an injection, get it down, get it done.
Yeah, right. Did that shift the way that you think about life, business, taking risks?
Nope.
No.
I was always pretty
full on.
Pretty wanted to go and get some things done.
Yeah.
I think I think now that the kids have left home, I think I've started to process it in a way that I did not process it when it was happening. Because when it was happening, I had one job, which was to take really good care of myself to stay alive for those kids. And I took that job very seriously. And then once we were through you're not going to die of this now, you never know you're going to get to 5 years. So my job is to be the best mum that I possibly can and show them that it's still possible to get out there and work and chase your goals. And then beyond that, before you know it, they're teenagers and my job is just to get on with living and do the best I can.
Yeah.
Since they've left home and there's a little bit more time, I think I've fronted it a little more closely and I have more emotion attached to that whole time. If there's one thing that I think there's two things I do differently now. One is I still try and pack a lot in. So when I turned 50, I'm 52 now. That's where you go, no.
Oh, no, you're not.
Thank you.
52.
Thank you.
Surely
yes,
not.
Yes, right. So when I turned 50, I called it the Festival of 50.
Yeah.
And my motto was don't block the blessing.
Okay.
Don't block the
Embrace
blessing.
it.
If someone asks you to go somewhere and you can possibly make it happen, do it. So
Say
that
yes.
year I went to
That's cool.
Finland and Japan and I did just a mountain of travel, and if someone asked me out for dinner and I could, I went. If they invited me somewhere, I said, yes, let's go to that concert. So it was this real, yes, let's. So that was kind of 50. And in 51, kind of kept it up. And in 52, I kind of kept it up. And Chris, my husband, he's like, are we still doing that Festival of You thing? And I said, yeah. Yeah, it seems to be my new way of living now. I seem to just have adopted it as a way of being because not a single day more is promised.
Agreed.
Not a single day more.
Totally agree.
So I want to get to the end of today and not have pleased myself, but I want to have got that balance from you took some joy from the world and with your full cup you were able to give. So I'm more committed to keeping my cup overflowing in the service of others. And sometimes that means I have to selfishly do trips.
I love it. I love it. That makes sense.
So yeah, so I make sure that that I pack a lot in, and I'm also pretty careful about, not always, but I work very hard to have the voice. You know, there's a tape that people play in their head when they think of you. So if I think of, that David Melse guy, I can play a tape that says, here's all the things that David's ever said to me. And it can play on a loop in my head. And I committed a while ago that when people play the tape that says, what's that Sacha girl said to me? I just want them to have some really good stuff in there. It doesn't have to be all love and pap, but it needs to be something that is joyful and energizing or challenging. Because challenging people is I see more in you, let's go. Require more of yourself because I see more in you.
So something of value.
Something of value, and not in a kind of a preachy, patronizing kind of a way. I just don't want to go to sleep on my anger.
Like an uplifting way.
Like an uplifting kind of a way.
Yeah.
And I take a lot of time to make sure my parents know that I love them and that I'm grateful.
Wow.
And that my children know that I love them, but that they're not my life's work. And so they mustn't live to please me. They must live to find something that brings purpose and joy to them. You know, all of those kind of things.
That's really cool. Hey, so good, Sacha. I think we should wrap it up.
Looking forward to you next year.
2026.
You're my project.
Okay.
Let's go.
All right, let's go.